watching SKST Radio.
Well. Welcome to another episode of SKST Radio, and you tuned into Small Business Network with Cami, Grayson, and friends. And I have a new friend today. She goes by the name of Feather. Is that
Hello?
right?
Yeah, Feather, aka Denise.
There
Feather-
you go. Hi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cami. I love your introduction.
Well, thank you. It's all prissy, the girl thing.
Yeah,
So
the
tell,
girl thing.
tell people who you are and what you do.
Well, geez, it could be a long story, but we have some time.
Right.
Yeah, and I kind of, some ways I like to just say that overall, I'm a magical helper. It sounds kind of childish, but at the same time, I worked with children for, wow, 30 plus 30, almost 40 years now. So being a magical helper with children has certainly been a big influence in my life and for my own imagination and for my own connection as well to intuition. So I call myself a magical helper. I'm an author. I'm a director, writer, producer for children's shows. I'm also an intuitive guide. And I am also, a new author from my first one, Once Upon a Solar Time. So all those combined, I guess one could say I'm a creative artist.
Oh, it sounds so cool. So tell us a little bit about how you got started into this cool world.
Yeah, this whole world. Well, it does go back quite a number of years ago. I had an intuition, I guess one would say, even at the age of 20, that first of all, I didn't choose to go to school after grade 12. I didn't feel that I was a performance poet at the time. I was writing so much poetry and putting it out there. And I had this intuition to open up a theater school for children in Toronto, which is a very big city. I came from a small town. It was a big chance, one might say, but everything fell into place, right from finding the right private school to finding the place to bring the children to. So early days, I was already co-creating with children and their imaginations from like age 21. That's when I started with children.
Wonderful. So the world of working with children, I worked with children for several years with Girls Incorporated, and I used to teach dance. I had my own dance school and mentoring program. So when you get with those kids, you sort of have that ambition to help them be the best them they can be, right?
Exactly. And that's why I call myself a magical helper, in the sense that all the theater plays that we do, there is always a character called a magical helper that appears and just sort of puts things together at the right moment. And that's what I feel I've done for children, and many acknowledgments through letters and afterwards saying, oh, you made my dream come true. I wanted to try to be this character and I got to try it on. And because I never force a child to be a certain character. They get to choose and live out something inside themselves based on the character they chose. So.
Oh, wow. So now these plays that you did for the kids, are the kids involved to help write the scripts, or is it something that you script out for them?
Well, I script it out for them, but I do record a lot of the improvs in the rehearsals so that I get direct words from them. So when I come back with the script and they hear I put it all together, and you imagine I have to put 12. Probably the most I have in one group is 15, but I like working with a dozen kids. But I have to put all these ideas and blend them and make sure that each child is getting satisfaction with the character that they come up with, and of course the storylines and the plots that the kids want as well. So if I come back and I say something this character is supposed to say, and that child doesn't feel that would be what that character would say, I change it, or I say, well, you put it in your own words. So it is a co-creative. It's never top down all the time.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I know, because sometimes they have a way of writing. Things have the way of writing themselves. especially if you have a character, a character that is in the play. Sometimes they make a funny and you didn't expect it to be funny, but it was so cool you want to leave it in the show. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
working.
And the kids, like I said, they make it fun. They challenge me as well to try to keep it fun as well. And I always try to have a dance in there. It's not
Uh-huh.
like 100% choreographed or whatever, but creative movement. And sometimes we have songs, like the children make up the songs, or I make up a song and I teach it to them. It's very organic. So I've been
Yeah.
doing that for a long time, and I was in Toronto. Then I sold my business, and I went to Europe, and went into my inner world for a while and discovered different gifts I had. And then I went to Salt Spring Island, a small island in Canada,
Okay.
and I opened up a gallery of performance art there, and I started again to work with children and also adults. I moved into adult theater and created a space where people could come and uh, present themselves and their creativity, whether it's singing, songwriting, poet, a small theater piece. But my magic in my life really began when I went to Asia, and I the serendipity of how I found this
Mhm.
ad in a local newspaper, wherein I rarely looked at ads for work. And it was like an ad to be a drama instructor in Singapore. I didn't even know that there was a country called Singapore. Uh, this is back in 1990, 99, I think it was. And I had a shower curtain was the map of the world. So I went to that shower curtain and I'm like, oh my God, there's Singapore. So I started investigating it. And within I had the interview a week later. And 2 weeks later, I was on a plane with, um, a couple of trunks of stuff.
Mhm.
Just said goodbye to Canada. I thought it was only going to be 2 years because it was a 2-year contract. I ended up staying in Asia for 14 years. So
Oh my gosh.
life changing. You
So
never know, huh? So it
yeah,
was
you
seven
never
years
know.
in Singapore, then 7 years in Phuket, Thailand.
Wow, wow. Well, you know what? That's good. That's kind of like a spiritual pathway, right? And so you never know where you're going to end up. God has a way of channeling our paths or the spirits or however, whatever you're used to saying. But you have that path that's sort of kind of built for you to follow, right?
Yeah. And that's where the link with imagination and intuition is super strong in me. It's super strong astrologically. I've known it for a long, long time. And to meld those two, that's how I can be in service to children and also with adults now in my life. Because since 2009, when I had a mystical experience, I have kind of what's the word? Surrendered, I guess, to working with what I feel is angel vibrations. And
Okay.
that helped me move into the adult world and be an enchanted helper for adults as well, to keep them, you know, to keep the simplicity, like with if there's a belief in angels, this is me. There's a belief in angels. For me, it's like it keeps life simple and knowing that
Right.
we're not alone. Do you know what I mean, Cami?
Right, right. So, well, explain to us about your mystical calling. How did that
Well,
happen? How did you know that that really was what was for you?
yeah, because it was a combination of things that were going on in my life. I had just built a house with a partner in Thailand, in Phuket, Thailand, and our relationship wasn't super great. And I started to just call and read a lot of books about angels and angel influences. And around the time when I had this experience, I was in the process of breaking up with this partner that I had had for 8 years, and we had only had the house for 6 months, something like that. It was
Hmm.
very, very devastating. And then one day, I had this book on my table down below. It was called Guidance from Your Angels, and I came down one morning, and there on the table was a white feather, like just there, and like no windows are open, and I'm like, how did that get there? And it was a sense of because I always believed in Archangel Michael.
Mythical being.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I just felt that they were talking to me in a very subtle and in a way childlike way, very simple childlike way. It's just a feather. And it had to stir in me a level of belief that I never even knew I had to come forward and say, okay, what do you want me to do now? And for me, that was the whole process. Was it felt fairly mystical because I didn't know where I was being directed, because this relationship was changing, and that no longer was going to be part of my life.
Right.
And then when this came in to like sort of replace it, I've never looked back. Of course I had many months of getting through the grief of betrayal and all kinds of emotional stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I kept getting signs of feathers.
Wow.
I kept
Amazing.
getting signs. Like I had a little pool. I'd swim and I'd get to the end of the end, and I can remember one time just coming up, and there on my little finger was a feather stuck to my little finger. I'm like, how does this happen? Feathers were dropped at my door. I didn't know why, and so there was so many signs from feathers that I had to keep surrendering.
Right. So thus Feather, aka Denise.
Yeah, and how I changed my name to Feather was a little bit later. In 2015, I was felt a calling to be part of a, a transformational leadership journey in Ecuador with 24 other people who do different types of healing, and we were going there to help Amazon tribes change their dirty water to clean water with filters. So I was called to go on this journey. And at that time, Zoom was just coming out, and we had to meet on Zoom in 2015. And there was many women with the sound of D in there, like Diane and Deanna and Debbie, and then it was Denise. And I'm like, no, I just felt at that time, this was a time
You got to
to
be a different D.
So yeah,
Gotcha.
I changed my name to Feathers so that when I met these people who I never knew, they would start calling me that, and I would feel how that felt because they knew me as Feather. They didn't know me as Denise. So
Right, right.
I switched it over then, and I continued to use it.
Wow, wow. That's the best time to switch if you have like your nicknames and things like that, because sometimes you don't want those nicknames to follow you when you're an adult, right? I have a nickname that's Coco, and if someone calls me Coco, I know that they're from my childhood. They
Yeah,
knew me growing up. But if you call me Cammy, I know you knew me and you met me in my adult life, you know? And
yeah.
so it's just amazing how you can do that. So tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to comment, Cammy, on what you just said about changing your name, if I may. I mean, and you
Yes.
probably know too, is like it's a different vibration that you end up holding. Like I never got. I mean, somebody called me. My parents, named me Denise. I never got to name myself as
Right,
an
right.
adult. And sometimes we do that when we're a lot younger. But I took many years to get to the point of calling myself Feather. But for you, probably the same. Camille is a vibrational for you, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's a short acronym for Camela. And so, by the way it's spelled is different from the way it's pronounced. So you were always as a kid, that's not my name. I didn't know any better, And so for them at that time, it would have been so easy to just say, it's like Pamela with a K,
Yeah.
Kamala, like the
Yeah.
vice president now, Kamala. That's how my name is pronounced, but it's not spelled the way it's pronounced.
Yeah.
So as a kid, you wouldn't have known any better, So you're always correcting people, correcting people. So I decided I'm going to go by Cammy. Nice and simple, quick, easy.
Soft. It's
Yeah,
it's very soft.
yeah.
Can Yeah.
And so here I am. I've been Cammy for several years now.
Especially family.